Jose Aldo Jr. versus Marlon Vera takes place this weekend in the co-main event of UFC Fight Night Vegas 17, Thompson versus Neal, and I can't wait for this bantamweight matchup. I've got to get used to saying that with Jose Aldo because, of course, coming down to the bantamweight division, originally thought Marlon Vera had a razor close fight. Some people thought he won that fight, including the entire organization of the UFC, which is why they then booked him against Henry Cejudo. That fell out. They still wanted to give Aldo a title shot. They ended up giving him a title shot versus Piotr Jan. He lost that one as well, this time more brutally, but still had an amazing performance against Piotr Jan in those early 3 rounds. On the other side, you've got Marlon Vera, and again, just like the main event, the same storyline is present here as well. The older veteran and the young up-and-coming star that could really be something in the division in Marlon Vera, rising through the division right now. I know he lost his fight with Song Yadong, but I thought he won the fight with Song Yadong. In my opinion as well, I will say this, Marlon Moraes won the fight with Jose Aldo. And I don't know why a lot of people disagree with that one. I thought Marlon Moraes won the first round and the third round quite clearly, but the biased commentary, of course, plays a factor, as it does in every single pay-per-view nowadays with Joe Rogan involved. But still, let's move along from the biased commentary because I can talk about that all day. Jose Aldo versus Marlon Vera. Great bantamweight matchup to make, in my opinion. Not the one I would have made, but after it was made, I was like, okay, I'll take it. You know what I mean? This is a really good one. Originally, how stacked this card was, this was supposed to be opening up the main card. Now it's a co-main event, which I think is where it belongs. And I also believe it could be the main event. But as we know, Jose Aldo is dodging 5 rounds like the plague unless there's a title on the line. Did it against Stevens, did it against Moicano. Takes that co-main event slot, even if the guy is above him on the card, which was Marlon Moraes versus Rafael Assunção rematch, I believe, all the way back in February of last year in Brazil. Jose Aldo doesn't like those 5 rounds, okay? And he knows why, and the reason why is because he gasses out in those 5 rounds, and in a 3-round bout, he's really, really good because he doesn't have to worry about that cardio, and I think that's going to play a huge factor here. If this was a 5-rounder, I don't think Aldo finishes Marlon Vera, so I would end up maybe picking Marlon Vera to finish Aldo in the 4th or 5th round. I think if anyone escapes to those 4th and 5th rounds with Aldo, it's going to be a good time for them unless they've been beaten up so badly in the first 3. If they stay competitive in the first 3 rounds and then get those 4th and 5th rounds afterwards, I think a lot of people in these divisions can beat Jose Aldo. He's very fast twitch muscle guy. Seems to be a little bit stuck in his ways as well, but he has changed some things in his career. With a 3-rounder, I'm going to pick Jose Aldo because it seems like he's going to the body a lot more recently, and he also, in his Yan fight, started chopping at those legs as well. I think that was a good sign to see because it shows us that Jose Aldo realizes that he is a guy that slows down in fights. So he's also going to be the guy that invests in good cardio breaking shots early with the leg kicks and the body shots that he's been throwing as well. He threw a bunch of great ones against Piotr Jan. I don't see Marlon Vera winning the first round. I see him getting really badly beaten up in the first round. I see him coming back in the third. I see him losing the second. I think it's going to be a 29-28 unanimous decision win for Jose Aldo Jr. Rooting for Marlon Vera, even though I like Jose Aldo and I'd hate to see him lose. I need the young blood in this bantamweight division. We've got a bunch of guys right now. Sandhagen, Garbrandt onto division. You've got Jan versus Sterling coming up. Seems to be a new breed in the bantamweight division. I think Marlon Vera would add very nicely to that collection of names. However, I'll go back to this again. Marlon Vera makes it very close with guys that I believe, after Aldo's performance against Piotr Jan, Aldo would annihilate in 3 rounds, okay? And Marlon Vera's had some really close fights. I know that the Sean O'Malley bout, people seem to be going crazy over because they like the fact that Sean O'Malley lost. And I know I'm going to get dislikes for saying that. Anyone else gets a finish like that, and everyone, I said this before so many times, when Brent Primus did that to Michael Chandler, no one on earth gave Brent Primus the credit he deserved for beating Michael Chandler, because he landed that shot to the nerve and Chandler's foot went completely numb and he was out of it and they stopped the fight. Same thing happens to Sean O'Malley, but he dares to try and fight through it and land some shots on Marlon Vera while he's on one foot. And everyone goes crazy like Marlon Vera's just KO'd him stiff in the first round with a head kick. Like, it was really weird to me. Marlon Vera is not going to land on that nerve of the leg with Jose Aldo. Like, maybe Sean O'Malley's got a problem with his legs. That could be argued. He's a very skinny guy for the division. He also went vegan for a couple of years, so he's kind of like naturally more bitch-y a little bit, you know what I mean? But still, Jose Aldo, in my opinion, with the conditioned legs, even if you're not going to be throwing leg kicks and out leg kicking Marlon Vera and he's going to land a couple of you, on you. I feel like Jose Aldo's legs are conditioned enough to take those shots. He's a much stockier guy as well. He's a big muscled up guy in that bantamweight division. I think the size is going to be a bit of a weird scenario. Aldo's very dense at bantamweight right now. I think he's going to cause a lot of problems for Marlon Vera, chopping at his legs early, as Marlon Vera will be doing back to Aldo. I think Aldo's going to land a lot of body shots early as well, and that is going to stop the potential third round finish from Marlon Vera, which I believe is the only sensible finish to make and prediction to make. You're not picking Marlon Vera by decision. Maybe you could. Maybe you think Marlon Vera is going to mount enough offense in the second round that Yan couldn't do and steal the second round from Jose Aldo in a 3-round bout and think he's going to win 29-28. I don't see that happening. The only way I can see someone predicting Marlon Vera to win is by 4th or 5th round if they were there, or 3rd round TKO against a gassed out Aldo. I just don't think that Aldo's going to gas out in the 3rd round. Still look good in the 3rd round against Marlon Moraes as well. But then again, Marlon Moraes is a guy who kind of slows down in those later rounds. But Marlon Vera, and we can go through his record like I did before, was losing to Noel Hernandez until the 2nd round where he got a submission. He dominated Frankie Sainz, but he was losing to Guido Canetti really badly in the 1st round. And I know this is a while ago, but only in 2018. I know he's added stuff to his game, but also in the Andre Ewell bout. Andre Ewell had a tough time in those later rounds, but in the 1st round, Andre Ewell beats Marlon Vera, or you could argue that Andre Ewell beat Marlon Vera. He definitely outstruck him 14-9 on significant strikes. I think if that level of guy can do that to you, even in the Song Yudong fight, like Song Yudong, the only round I gave to Song Yudong was the 1st, but the only round that Yudong didn't outland Vera in was the 1st. So I don't know how I even ended up scoring that bout, because Yudong apparently landed way more shots in the 2nd and 3rd round. I knew of this the whole time, but for me it seemed like Vera the shots were just different levels than Yudong's one. Yudong's one were getting stuffed and ignored, and Vera's shots were just sending Yudong back against the cage and just bullying him around the cage in those 2nd and 3rd rounds. Also got the takedowns there as well, which can sway some things in the judges' eyes. Wasn't a robbery, but it was a bad decision in my opinion. I thought Marlon Vera won, but again, if Yudong can do this to you, I think Aldo's going to be able to as well, man. I think Aldo's a real dangerous guy in that division. I do want to mention this as well. He's coming off a loss to Piotr Yan by TKO. This is not a TKO loss where, his chin's gone. Like, he lost to Conor McGregor, but since then he's been taking good shots off of so many opponents. Like Marlon Moraes landed that head kick on him that has KO'd guys like Jimmy Rivera in the division. Can't KO Jose Aldo with that. I feel like his chin is holding up in the bantamweight division, and even in his losses, we have had some questions answered about Jose Aldo's move to bantamweight now. I think it will pay off here. He will win against Marlon Vera by 29-28, back and forth, decision, dominate the 1st round, close 2nd round that Aldo wins, 3rd round to Marlon Vera, but what an amazing fight. The winner of this one's going to be in an amazing position. I just feel like Aldo's got it in the bag, and whoever does win this one, in my opinion, if Cruz beats Casey Kenny and Aldo wins against Marlon Vera, I could 100% see them doing Jose Aldo versus Dominic Cruz. Winner gets a shot against someone in the top 3 and right back towards that title shot. I think that's exactly why Aldo's taken this one, because he knows that just with one win, he is a big enough name to attract another big name in the division to propel him forward once more. And an also older guy in Dominic Cruz, which is a favourable matchup for Jose Aldo with the leg kicks, and Cruz doesn't like leg kicks, but in a 5-rounder, I'd pick Cruz. Basically, in a 5-rounder, I don't mind many people's chances against Aldo. Like, if they can survive early, like if they're that level enough toughness to survive early against Aldo, I can see so many people being able to beat Aldo in those later rounds. I think it's the safest bet anytime he fights for the title. But I will say this: he didn't get KO'd stiff against Yan. He took a lot of damage, don't get me wrong, but he showed up looking good in that fight. And if you cut that fight off at 3 rounds, you've got yourself a razor-close decision that arguably could go either way. I know people had it either way live when they were scoring it. I think Yan landed more in those rounds. But still, Aldo versus Vera, I think Aldo gets it done. Better boxing, better kickboxing, better grappling as well. I don't see Marlon Vera taking him down. If you can't keep down Song Yudong for long enough to do damage, I don't see him keeping Jose Aldo on the ground. I mean, Aldo got held down by Yan in those later rounds, but as I said, that's Aldo in the 4th and 5th, which is basically not even Jose Aldo. It's just some random Brazilian guy that just showed up in the 4th and 5th round. But still, in a 3-rounder, not betting against the old champion. Jose Aldo Jr. will Glover Teixeira like second Brazilian prime this shit and rise back to the bantamweight division's top of the rankings. I like his chances here against Marlon Vera, but I understand Marlon Vera predictions. I just feel like Jose Aldo's going to get it done, and they're pretty close in the odds, which I think is very weird. And I think a lot of that is to do with the fact that people are kind of forgetting what happened in the O'Malley fight. Like, I'm going to add this at the end here, and it makes me... I hate doing this whenever it's a superstar fighter like Sean O'Malley. Not really a superstar, but you know what I'm saying. I feel like there's such a bias about the way that fight is perceived. Both guys were doing well. O'Malley was outstriking Marlon Vera in the early part of that round. Vera was landing good shots, don't get me wrong. Vera lands a kick on the side of the knee where the nerve is, and O'Malley's foot goes dead. Then he rolls his ankle like 3 times over. Still was doing good on one leg against Vera for a short period of time before Vera eventually got him to the ground and landed some ground and pound with the elbows. People are acting like Vera went out there and KO'd him stiff because they're kind of so happy about O'Malley finally losing because of how arrogant he was, which I agree with. He had the Uruguay flag, I mean not the Uruguay, the Ecuador flag colours painted all over his head, which was a bit weird in all honesty, but still, I don't see it. I don't see it happening this way. But I like the fight very much so indeed. But I just don't see the same win as other guys do with Sean O'Malley, and I almost feel like the odds are kind of representing, like, I don't know, why is Vera so close in odds? I don't understand these odds recently. I don't understand the odds. But then again, I've not understood a lot of odds recently, and they seem to keep winning. So maybe the odds makers are rigging this whole shit and laughing their way to the bank that no one can pick underdogs anymore. Either way, I think Aldo's going to get the job done. Looking forward to it. Great fight, I'm sure, between the pair of them. I want Marlon Vera to win, because if Marlon Vera wins, there's a good chance that they could do an O'Malley rematch down the line. That would be a big storyline. Also, if Marlon Vera wins against a name like Aldo, he'll propel himself right up the division and look for guys in the top 5 after that as well, and we can move Marlon Vera's career forward. Still a young guy as well, so he will be making improvements here. 28 years of age. I'm not going to judge him based on his former performances, but I just think at any point in your career, if your Don can even make it close enough to get a bad decision against you, Aldo in 3 rounds is going to hurt you for the first 2, 100%. He might even win the 3rd. I wouldn't even be surprised if this is 30-27, but just a closer 3rd round. I think it's going to be 29-28. That's a bit of a safer bet. Aldo gets it done. Click that button up there. Like and subscribe. Goodbye. I'll see you later.